But for chemists like Coates, an exciting beginning.
What we've done here is kind of the first step in a many-step process to come up with a new commercial plastic.
I'm Veronica Dela Cruz, and that's Cool Science.
All too often, bits of history slip away when no one's looking. And that almost happened recently at a thriving industrial park in New York City. But luckily, someone at the Brooklyn Navy Yard had a good eye and a good heart. Kathleen Koch has the story.
For years it sat unnoticed in a corner of the Brooklyn Navy Yard, now a city industrial park. But just as the sailboat was about to be scrapped to make way for more development, Elliot Matz noticed under the rust and the peeling paint unique lines and a solid keel.
It was clear that this was not just your average, ordinary derelict boat. There was something historic about it.
A paper on the hull said it was the Ethel, one of the country's few remaining skipjacks. 100 years ago, more than 1,000 of the long, flat-bottomed boats dredged oysters in the shallow waters of the Chesapeake Bay.
I didn't realize that there were maybe only 40 or 50 left. So at that point, I knew, we could not just junk it.
So the old fasteners have rusted off, and the boards tend to drop off.
After months of searching, Matz contacted Frank Young of the Eastern Virginia Historical Society. Young formed an ad hoc committee of boat lovers who arranged for a barge delivering pilings to New York to bring the Ethel Lewis home to Virginia to become a floating museum exhibit.
And while she looks terrible to look at, a lot of these boards are so hard that you cannot drive an ice pick in there over a 1/16 of an inch.
Oh, this is terrible. Oh, God help us.
Richard Schaefer knows those boards well. He had rescued the Ethel Lewis himself in 1977 from a New York boatyard.
See, I wasn't a millionaire, and I couldn't buy a yacht.
So he refurbished the sailboat and for 21 years used it as a pleasure craft for his 10 children.
Just sail. Just sail it. We sailed the Great South Bay up and down with friends. Had a great time.
But by 1998, the children had grown and the boat and Schaefer aged. He didn't know when he donated it to a maritime workshop program at the Brooklyn Navy Yard that the program would shut down in a few years. Young knows reviving the Ethel Lewis won't be easy. He designed a special cradle so the sailboat wouldn't crumble when lifted onto the barge.
When I look at it and anybody else looks at it, they think we're not in our right mind to even do this. We think we are. A long 3-day journey, and the Ethel Lewis arrives in Onancock, Virginia, just 5 miles from where it was built nearly 100 years ago. Residents gather for the homecoming.
It's a historic event. It's a historic town. We're built on the water. Our history is all about the water, and bringing this home is just going to be fantastic.
We didn't have a lot of money, and so getting her here has been a real challenge. Well, as we 7-year ride, it was good news and bad news. The good news is she's here. Bad news, she's here. Now we have to work on her.
So nothing came off, nothing shook loose, nothing broke, nothing was ripped apart?
She did a good job. You can see that she has a lot of wear and tear.
Committee member Steve Walton says even parts of the boat that aren't salvageable will serve a purpose.
The characteristics of each of those pieces will be recorded and documented. Used as templates for restoration.
The only thing tricky about these pieces are the angle at which they're set.
Yeah.
But they're essentially a square piece of wood,
right.
2 inch by 10 inches.
Yep.
We have a stack of it, and someone shouts out some dimensions, and we put that up on the saw and cut it and set it.
Once a shelter is built to protect the boat from the elements, the newest challenge begins, raising the money to restore the Ethel Lewis. Estimates range from $30,000 to $500,000.
I've seen larger pipe dreams come to be. There's a lot of people that would love to see her restored, but whether this Ethel Lewis sails again or not, I think she'll be well served.
Once you lose it, you can't restore it. You can't get it back. And this was a piece of history we didn't want to lose.
Still to come, it may not be a match made in heaven, but zookeepers hope it's enough to help save black rhinos from extinction. That story when next at CNN continues.
Next at CNN is sponsored by